now are trying to find the perfect black. The Egyptian goddess Osiris was called Lord of the perfect black. See, black is a superior absorber of energy. And so if everything is energy, and the melanocyte is an energy receptor. It's just like our eyes are energy receptor. Our ears are energy receptors of certain frequencies. Now, many people have heard about the Dogon, a particular group in Africa, and where they knew about the star system Sirius. And they could tell that there was a star that the Western scientists had not discovered. And so it's like, well, how could these primitive people, see, that's a word that they want to throw in. You see, it could be that just like the pyramids were put up by black-skinned people. And I have a thesis that that was before black people were taught to hate black. And before, when they knew the power of the pigment that can absorb most frequencies. I theorize that if you can absorb it, you can send it out. But if you hate the pigment, you certainly can't use that instrument. You see, we've been taught to hate the instrument. George Washington Carver, they said that he was a wizard. And he was a genius. He could tell what plants could do. He didn't have big fancy laboratories. And they asked, how are you able to do what you do? He said he goes out in the quiet of the morning. Quiet, everybody? Quiet. And he said the plants talk to him and tell him what they can do. George Washington Carver was crystal black. See, if we pay attention to the old people, where the old people would say the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. If it ain't got no soul, it ain't got no use. Now, years ago, I wrote a paper called Melanin, the Neurochemical Basis for Soul, S-O-U-L. See, when they say that black people have soul and are sensitive, that means that we are bringing in more energy. We're sensitive. White people will say, you all are sensitive, because they're missing the ingredient of sensitivity. So I just say, and to the extent, see, right now, basic programming under white supremacy, black people, and gentlemen, I have to say this to you. See, in the rap artists and the hip-hop people, you want somebody white. Neely Fuller even says, when a black man is poor, he wants a job. This is under white supremacy. When he gets a job, he wants luxuries. When he gets luxuries, he wants a white woman. I had a friend years ago who was at Harvard. He became a tenured professor at Harvard. He said, Francis, a white woman goes with a Harvard degree. So what's the point in getting a Harvard degree? See, people are looking astonished. See, black people operate on the same principle, just a couple of notches down. See, show me a multi-millionaire, billionaire black man who has gone in search of a crystal black lady. Are you all with me, or am I wrong? Embracing ourselves so that we are able to tell the truth to ourselves. See, in other words, as long as we have to lie to ourselves, we're going to be a crippled people. See, we are being lied to by the system of racism, white supremacy. So when we then lie to ourselves, we are in total trouble. So this is the point of deciding that we're going to respect ourselves and embrace ourselves and embrace our truths, our weaknesses and our strengths. But mostly, like some of the things that I've heard from Neely Fuller over the years, he said the study of history. Instead of talking about when we were kings and queens, we need to be studying where did we make our mistakes. See, what mistakes did we make? See, like the good student gets an exam paper back, and it's a big red F on it. All the answers are wrong. The smart student, the first reaction might be to crumple that paper up. The smart student will get to the wastebasket, straighten that paper out, and say, where did I make my mistakes? Let me go and sit and talk to the instructor. Point out to me, what is it that I don't understand? You see, in other words, to admit weakness and vulnerability is a strength. See, I advocate, can you imagine a national conference being called and black men decide to call this meeting instead of a march? They say they're going to meet. Now this is big national advertising, big signs all over the country. Some people come from Africa when they see the subject. And the topic is going to be, we are afraid of the white man. Now see, most people, I can feel the vibe. Some people are kind of, what is she talking about? See, the white man can't say, look, black man, I'm frightened to death of your genetic power. That's why I make that gun. Because you have power that I don't have. I have to make an instrument. Yours is God-given. Now, he can't say that. You see, that's why one of the black poets wrote, they don't come by one, they come by 10. See, 10 to 1. So to be able to tell the truth, and if you've never seen respect, you let black men call a conference like that. The New York Times, CNN, BBC, all the major news media all across the world will be coming and saying, well, what are you going to do about it? You've announced your fear. What are you going to do? And the black man just say, well, we're not sure. We're just beginning to talk about the problem. And they will start saying, well, wait a minute now, what do you want us to do? We haven't gotten that far. You see, but in other words, see, the power of truth is really strength. To lie is the evidence of weakness.
Right.
See, I'm afraid of white people. I am afraid of white people. Nearly Fuller said that's intelligent fear. See, people ask me all the time, aren't you afraid of what they would do? I said, but I'm more afraid if we don't understand. So the fear that we will not understand what is coming towards us is greater than any fear that I might have about personal safety. You see, which doesn't mean, as I said, I don't consider I'm courageous, no. But it's like we have to let our respect for ourselves, see, on a 0 to 10 scale of self-respect, where do you think we are?
2, 3.
See, we could be at minus 100. See, what about that? Now, the white scientists will tell us that their word for the most powerful force in the universe is a black hole. They are investigating dark matter. They are looking for perfect black. Because that is a superior absorber of energy. And if you can bring it in, you can push it out. You see, but see the vibe, and it's okay. That's why we have to do mirror practice.
That's right.
Go home, take off all your clothes. Don't stand in front of the window, stand in front of See, and just decide, look in the mirror and say, I think I'm going to decide to like my black self just as I am. See, for white people, if they would decide that they're going to like themselves even though they don't have color, they would be better off. See, then they wouldn't, well, wait a minute, I may be a mutant. See, now let me say this. I gave a talk some time ago in New Hampshire, University of New Hampshire. Whole audience like this of white people. There was a few black students who had invited me. So I said to the white people, look, maybe we as black people owe you an apology as the first child abusers. Because we put you all out. Come on. See, white people, in their history, they say that Western civilization began in Rome. And the founders of Western civilization were Romulus and Remus. So go Go home and get your encyclopedias and pull out Romulus and Remus. In Romulus and Remus, the symbolism is that they were suckling on a wolf. The founders of Rome. So who has to suckle on a wolf but an abandoned child? The wolf is a canine. White people say their best friend is a dog, who is also canine. See, and anybody who's in a gentrifying area, you see where the white people all have their dogs. The dogs have dog parks. And they glare with malice at the black people. And if you reverse the letters in the word dog, you have the word God. Yeah. So I say all of that's not lost. And I said to the white people, let us apologize to you. You see, but sometimes parents make mistakes, if that was a mistake. And they can apologize, but they don't let the children keep on running the house. You see that black people have to really, when you're looking in the mirror, you have to let yourselves think. The creative force in the universe made black people the first people on this planet. And they were the mothers and fathers of everybody on the planet. And I said to the white people, that's why you all still like to be fed by black people. See, I wasn't thinking about, maids in the house, but we can have that. But Uncle Ben, they like his rice. And Aunt Jemima. And they loved Oprah. See, Oprah would embrace white people. Now tell Mammy, what is the problem? Oprah had Shirley MacLaine on her show. This is many years ago. And Oprah was talking about losing weight. And Shirley MacLaine said, no, you don't want to lose weight. You don't want to lose weight, you lose your show. I mean, nobody wants a skinny mammy. See, so what did the white people do? This is Welsing theory. Here's the continent of Africa, a gigantic continent. Here's the Mediterranean, and here are these little tiny countries of Europe. The paleontologists and anthropologists are saying that human life began here. And when the black people started producing mutations to albinism, just like now, the black people attacked the albinos in Africa. They put the people out. And if you go straight north of Africa, you can either go that way or you can cross this way. You're in Europe. And the center of Europe is called Germ. So I say that after the white people gathered themselves up here, and they said, now we're going to come right back here to Africa. and we're going to capture these black people, and we're going to take them to the land of I am race.
That's right.
And they're going to put the black baby out in a box, and they're going to nurse the white baby. And we're going to beat them until we get tired. Are you all with me? Yeah. So what if black people held a conference, instead of talking about, we forgive you for killing us? Right? If the black people said, you know what? We understand why you enslaved us.
That's right.
See, if you talk, the psychiatrist has to talk to people. And what do you think the child who is abandoned by the mother feels?
Yes.
See, the fantasy is that mother gives up child. 25 years later, child finds mother, and they embrace. What's the reality?
No. They want to kill their mother.
Child finds mother. Child beats mother to death. Are you all with me? See, there's no reasoning that the child can be given that justifies abandonment. Now there might be all kinds of, see, I feel the vibe drop, but don't feel bad. See, the child wants to beat the you know what. Well, why did you have me? You see, all kinds of, which is why part of the Welsing solution is, see, I could wave a magic wand because we are trying to get the planet house straight. And so we can't play with sex. Sex is real good. Can I get any witnesses? I can hear. You know what song popped into my head? Jesus loves me. This you see, but this is a war. Nobody jumps out of a foxhole in a war talking about they got to get some. When you get some, you get home. See, in black people, see, in other words, it's like military discipline. That's the only way we are going to win this war. Right now, we are under the influence of racism, white supremacy. Because the racism and white supremacy culture does not respect sex. You see, make sex dirty, make it trashy. The trashier the better. What about sex with horses? What about sex with dogs? You see, and we have sometimes played the role of monkey see, monkey do. See, there was an African proverb that said monkey was so busy doing what everybody else was doing that one day monkey cut his throat. You know, black people are going to have to get onto first people's value system. See, I had a grandmother that said, black people don't do that.
That's right.
See, there was a time when black people knew what black people did and what white people did. And my grandmothers would say, wait a minute, black people don't do that. But we are now all up into the armpits of doing everything to be accepted. You see, as opposed to, wait a minute, what values do we need to bring justice to this planet? See, the Creator made whoever are the parent people, they were given everything. Nobody has more than black people in terms of basic what was given by the creative force of the universe. That's how black people can be the mothers and fathers of everybody. But like we see in psychiatry many times, the children take over the house. And the parents are running around, letting children be their guides, as opposed to straightening the house and putting the people who are supposed to be, have wisdom, have maturity, and be in charge, instead of those people being in charge of the house. So if I could wave a magic wand, you see, because when you don't take care of children, see, it's like our white children are raising hell all over the planet. Because presumably they were not parented. And so the only thing they can do is kill. Kill and destroy. And kill and destroy. And kill and kill and kill. You see, because they weren't taken care of. And all the little children who are made, and people talk about baby daddy and baby mommy, 6 baby daddies, 10 baby mommy. See, all those little children who don't get taken care of, that people want to say are bad. I tell the children, I don't know any bad children. Children are not born bad. But children can be made sad. And if they are sad, their behavior looks bad to grown-ups. See, all the little children, and black men don't feel bad when I say this. All the little children who don't have fathers, all the little boys. Child said, Dr. Welsing, I think I could do my homework if I just had an official father. Imagine somebody 10 saying that. If I just had an official father. Or a child saying, Dr. Welsing, if I had a father, he at least could have taught me what goes on under the hood of the car. Now that makes the psychiatrists want to fall out of their chair, fall on the floor and start crying. You see, or the child that came because the teacher said he's smart, the parent brings the child to the psychiatrist. And I said, sweetheart, don't you want to work hard in school so you can help black people? And this little boy, totally polite, said no. You know, he's supposed to say yes. So I said, why not, sweetheart? He said, if you try to help black people, you will be killed. He said, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, George Jackson. And I'm thinking, IQ 285. See, like a little child peeping out at the world, seeing what really is going on. See, but the fathers are not there because of the war of racism and white supremacy. That necessitates killing the men. See, why the men? Because women cannot impose sexual intercourse. See, if I went to my purse, got a Uzi out, and I walked up to a gentleman and said, "You're going to have sex right now." See, but I have a Uzi, and I'm fighting him. What's going to happen, gentlemen? No, the erection cannot be maintained in the presence of feet. So why does it look like the women have an easier time? Because the women do not pose a threat to white genetic survival. But the men pose a perceived threat. So the war of racism and white supremacy is against black people in general, but black men in particular. And that's why the children don't have fathers. You see, but instead of, see, we don't decode at a deep enough level.
That's right, that's right.
Then we don't know, see, again, if you sit down at a chessboard, and you don't really understand the game, you don't know how to move your pieces, and you certainly don't know how to think 3 moves in advance. If you don't know enough about football to not go on the football field with a tennis racket, that's us. We're trying to deal with something that we don't have sufficiently depth understanding. You see, talking about police brutality as opposed to system.
Right.
Total system of racism, white supremacy that informs police brutality, informs gentrification, informs closing schools, informs closing hospitals. That's all under the same umbrella. Just like all the pieces on the chessboard, all the players on the football field are a part of the game if the game is understood. So this is what we have to try to figure out. So I've been talking about revolutionary black sex, the new black sex. That's when the people want to send it home. See, but people producing children that can't take care of is no different than slavery. See, in slavery, we were fed so that we would breed. Not so that there would be maximal development of a black genetic and constitutional potential. No, make a slave. You see, and for all the people who play with sex, the joke is on the offspring. Because a child who is not taken care of will begin to wage war against the community.
Yes.
You see, so adding up all the killings. See, now we don't really know who is really doing the killings. See, people, there was an ad a number of years ago in one of the Washington, D.C. papers, and it had a full-page ad, and it was a picture of a dark brown-skinned young black man with kind of cut-off pants, shoes, sneakers untied, and it said, "Life is precious, pass it on." And then it had arrows going to eyes. How many eyes are needed? How many lungs are needed? How many hearts are needed? Are you all with me? Worth more dead than alive. So we don't know who. All you do is wake up and read the newspaper. You see black male's body found. So who might have been riding around in the middle of the night You see, person shot in the back of the head, not in the mid-body, so that the organs would be intact. That could be transferred, transplanted. See, so we are not in our desire. No thought that will disturb a person who's classified as white. That's when we get in trouble. See, and I also say that we are in a critical period in our history. We are on a genocide slide. See, they can cause events and try to flush black people out in the street, yelling and screaming, and then just pick them all up and take them to a concentration camp. And I say, instead of doing that, there are a lot of people who classify themselves as white, who say they're not racist. Now, they haven't been given assignments by black people before, but I say they're assignments. If you are not a racist, then your responsibility is to stop. Identify and stop the ones who are.
That's right.
The black people are going to stay there. See, for every white person who's in bed with a black person. See, there are little tests that you can perform. See, sometimes white people will say, Dr. Welsing, how can I help? And I say, tell black people what white people talk about. And there are no black people around. See, that's a little test. I know nobody in this room is in bed with a white person, but if you have a friend, tell a friend that they can perform a test in the middle of a sex act. The black person right, what? What do white people talk about? When there are no black people around, the sex act is because that's a survival inquiry. A white professor at American University, they had a program at one of the prisons in Virginia. And, you know, maybe Black History Month, I was invited to speak. I talked about racism. And so this female professor, white, was driving me home. And she said, Dr. Welsing, I hate to admit it. She said, on all social occasions. On all. She didn't say occasionally. She said, on all social occasions, when white people are together, and there are no black people around. She said, we are talking negatively about black people. And the assumption is that everybody present is in agreement. I didn't say, let me out of this car. No, I said, I understand. I say, you are talking code about white genetic survival. You see, but the mistake, just like the mistake that Semites of the Jewish religion made, they wanted to be accepted. They wanted things to be post-racial. But Adolf Hitler wanted white genetic survival. Right. By any means necessary. Right. So you can look up on your iPhone, Wannsee Conference. That was a conference held in a suburb outside of Berlin, where all the Nazi leadership talked about how they were going to kill 11 million people. Polite sandwiches, secretaries, tea. See, this is the big secret. And this is what black people need to understand, not for the purpose of hate, but for being deeply in touch with reality, so that other kinds of decision making and planning can take place. Yes. Yes. Are we in the last hour? We're in the last hour. The last hour. Question and answers. Does anybody have any comment, question, or answer? Please stand and talk real loud. Okay.
I do. I have a comment.
Thank you very much for your stunning.
Can everybody hear?
No, well, hello. I just want to thank you.
Real loud so you got to know.
For your beautiful, outstanding person. And I'm glad that I'm in the same generation with you. My question is how do we begin to work with white people to address this? And I'm wondering, do you know any white folks that are really doing this work? Because I work with a mixed group of people, and sometimes I think we gotta talk to white folks too. And we had Tim Wise come to the school that I work at. And are you familiar with his work? And I'll sit down and just listen.
Tim Wise said about Francis Welsing that Dr. Welsing just talks a lot of pseudoscientific bullshit. Now, the person who conveyed this to me, they have a blog program or something, and they told me that Tim had said that he was a racist. And so my response was that Tim says he's a racist. And so that's the comment I would expect. You see, but black people need white saviors. That's how Jim Jones was able to kill him. See, so there are different experiments that are conducted for the black people who need white saviors. You see what I'm saying? So that's all I have to say. Now let me say this. See, black people, it would be like the Semites of the Jewish religion in Nazi Germany, talking about how they're going to save the Germans. When they didn't have the thinking and the understanding to save themselves. See, which is a product of, if you want to be accepted by other people more than you want to respect yourself, then you can be in great difficulty. You see, and so wanting to be accepted as white, like I was saying, if I invented 3 pills, the first pill, now this is on a planet with the majority of people of color. So the first pill that I invent will turn you white overnight. You take it on Monday. The second pill will give you long, straight hair. The third pill will give you so-called white teachers. I would be the wealthiest person on the planet. All I have to do is be on eBay. They would sell all over India, all over China, all over South America, all over Africa, all over Central America, and all over this area of the world. Because at the 90+% level, racism, white supremacy has been successful in teaching people of color to hate themselves. And the willingness, see, white supremacy will come to a point by the time I get back to DC tomorrow. If the non-white people were saying we will not injure each other. All over Africa, all over Asia, all over Central America. We don't do that anymore. See, we used to hate ourselves and hate each other. So all that was required was that white supremacy come and bring us a gun and bring us drugs or whatever is the local currency. But we don't do that anymore. White supremacy will be over. See, white people have asked me, well, Dr. Welsing, you say that we're fewer than 1/10. Now, how is it that we are able to control the 9/10 on the planet? I said, well, let's consider everything. It could be that you're smarter. Could be. But I don't think so. See, but you have been successful in programming the thoughts of the 9/10. So that the 9/10, here are the 9/10, and here's the 1/10. This is a tiny minority, but the 9/10 have been programmed to give their support to the 1/10. And so then the 1/10 become more powerful even though they are the numerical minority. Because these people have been programmed to hate themselves all over the entire planet. So we can give white supremacy an A+. See, they have been successful. All the people of color hate themselves. See, and if you don't think we do, let me just quickly go through this. Basic behaviors. Stop name calling one another. Stop gossiping about one another. Stop squabbling with one another. I sound like Bill Cosby. Stop cursing one another. Stop being discourteous to one another. Stop being disrespectful to one another. I call these exercises of black mental health and black self-respect and building a powerful culture of counter-racism. Stop stealing from one another. Stop robbing one another. Stop fighting one another. Stop killing one another. Stop using and selling drugs to one another. Stop black children from thinking that as children they can be adequate mothers and fathers. See, you need to be old. About 30 and 35, no more than two, no closer together. Stop pretending that racism and white supremacy does not exist. Okay. So those are the things that black people decide to do that instead of trying to correct white people. No, black people, each individual black person, see, sometimes the debate be quiet, please. Stop. Black people think, you know, we need to get some land of our own. White supremacy owns the whole planet. You can't go in white supremacy's house and say, I want these rooms. But I say everybody can cover the ground where their feet are. See, your brain is atop your feet. And so if everybody just stands their ground with understanding racism, white supremacy, you don't have to pay their dues. Just stand your ground. There's an African proverb that says, when spider webs unite, they can tie up a lion.
Yes, Dr. Welsing,
Yes.
and just appreciate you and Dr. DeGrew, and actually Black Genius, who answered my question, which was, what is it that we can do in our daily lives as a solution to white supremacy? And you just went through.
And then, see, the self-respect. I say self-respect is more powerful than a nuclear weapon. See, you don't know self-respect can have a mother. The child is under a car. Her self-respect can allow her to lift that car by herself off of that baby, meaning her intention plus her self-respect. Yes.
My name is Samantha. Thank you for being here to bring us all this awesome information. I have two quick questions. One, what do you think about young people and social media? I saw that Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of social media, he gave $100 million to the city of Newark, New Jersey, where I'm from. And I don't know if that was just a social community act of kindness, but just in general, what do you think about like social media? A lot of kids up there exposing their lifestyles, they're exposing their children. They put baby pictures up there, their party pictures, all of this. So it gives like white America even a better view into our social lifestyles, and people are just putting anything up there. Then my next question is, have you ever
one at a time. See, in other words, we don't have a clue the extent to which white supremacy through technology has taken over what children are doing. You see, what they're thinking. And it's not teaching self-respect. It's not teaching Black people to value and respect themselves. You see, when the children are walking around holding this 24 hours a day and really becoming, the brain becoming addicted to all that activity on the screen. So it's like when parents, I see some parents who try to discipline children by taking the phone away, and the children almost act like they're drug addicts. You see screaming and screeching until they can get it back. And so then the control and the programming that is going on. So I just say that people need to be aware. We are being programmed. People used to talk about eventually they're going to have everybody with a chip in their and they got a chip. See, it's already happening with these electronic instruments. So I mean, we just have to be aware. And people really need, especially people with young children are listening to, see, everybody needs to have a blackboard at home. And so, okay, well, let's put the words up on the blackboard that are in the song, so-called, that you're listening. Let's look at what it is that is being said. You see, where I was talking to some children in my office, I said, what's more important, the words or the beat? The beat. And I said, yeah, the words are sliding in. You see, they're stuck in your brain computer and they're guiding you. You see, so by the time people's brains get exercised, nigger and bitch and hoe and gangster and thug. You see, and then somebody wonders why is all this negative behavior just acting like it's nothing. The brain is being programmed. You see, you're nothing. Nigger, you're nothing. Oh, no, that's a term of endearment. No, that is not. Oh, wow. Okay.
And the next question, have you ever sat down and have a conversation with Obama? One-on-one?
No, but I call him all the time. They have a White House hotline, comment line. It's 202-456-1111. And it's there for people to comment. So I call all the time. Anything that I'm thinking about and I am unhappy about. Mr. President, you're talking about the terrorism in other countries. What about the terrorism right here? Please address that. But I think again, those numbers are out there. You can call 456-1111 or 456-1414. And CNN's number is 404-827-2600. You see, don't just look at this stuff and be just upset about it. Call them and tell them you have an opinion.
Could you repeat that number?
Thank you, Dr. Joy, for being here for us today. My name is Michelle. I came from New York. I'm currently in the process of adopting 4 little boys. They're all black, just like me. And I have one daughter, she's adopted as well. I just want to make sure I'm teaching them the right things. So when I watched the incident that transpired during Ferguson, I witnessed the black mother who beat her son in front of national television. I'm sorry, thank you. And I witnessed that. That hurt my feelings really bad, and I just wanted to know your opinion on it. I didn't feel like it was fair, and then I watched every talk show in America bring her on, cheer her on for beating her black child down in the street. And as a single mother raising 4 black young men, I want to make sure I'm teaching them the right thing. I didn't understand it. And lastly, when Oprah called her personally to say, you know, I'm proud of you for what you did, it didn't sit well in my spirit. If I wasn't speaking about it, I feel like he stood up for himself. I just wanted to know your opinion concerning that matter.
Well, I think that that mother, on the spur of that moment, thought that if this child is out here, any police officer can kill him. You see, and I don't think that she necessarily did a whole lot of thinking about it. But the choice was, do I get him and bring him home? Or do they kill him? And so then he comes home from the morgue. You see, like looking at the total picture, then I was reminded when we were growing up, the discussion that used to go on in my house, my grandmother, my father's mother, who lived with us. And my father used to talk humorously about, there was a race riot in Chicago. In 1919, there were a lot of race riots going on. And so my father used to talk with China's mother and say that, you know, he would have participated or he was there and his mother made him come home. In other words, is my son going to be dead? Or am I going to bring him home? And I think that that was what was going on. You see, based on what is happening in the country, that is what is taking place. So maybe a lot of people would have done something different.
Do you think the overall message that is sent though was that if you stand up for yourself, you have to be beaten as a black man? Or I guess I'm just trying to get to, I feel like he stood up for himself or didn't?
Well, he was doing something. I'm not faulting him.
Right.
You see, but how many mothers would have run out in the street to get their sons versus having their sons lose their lives? Do you see what I'm saying? And a lot of times I think that the women begin to look tough because the men have been taken out of the situation, right? You see, so in other words, rather than just condemn any black person, even the president, It's like the president has had more death threats than any president in history. You see, he's the person who has had people somehow magically get across the fence. Drones flying into the White House. You see, all of those, as far as I'm concerned, are life threats. Bullets going into the residence at the White House. You see, and who knows? Buddy, if you try to talk about racism, you got a nice wife. And you got 2 nice children. Now you bring up race, and we will kill you. So in other words, looking at the big picture, you see, and then thinking about what is the situation that we are in as a people. You see, this is war being waged against us. And so that may, you know, help reflect on what the answer is. Okay.
I was going to say, can you limit it to one question because there's a lot of people
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm trying to limit.
Okay, one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Dewan. I'd like to tell you, thank you for your time. That's the most important thing you can give. You can't get it back. And your insight for you and Dr. DeGregory. My question is, can you speak to maybe the psychosis? I want some understanding of how can some of our most brilliant black minds, our intellectuals, our scholars, and leaders, such as Sheikh Anta Diop, Franz Fanon, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, and Kwame Nkrumah, just for a few, who developed so much time, gave so much time and upliftment for our people and sacrificed their lives, put their lives on the line, and sacrificed their careers and turn around and marry European women. I'm serious, I really value that because when you read something with Sheikh Anta Diop, and like, you went through hell to prove that the Comedics, they were black, and you read Franz Fanon, black skin, white mask, and all this greatness, but you had white women. I don't get it. I really don't.
What white women want is what white women get. Under the system of racism and white supremacy, a white person said to me recently, Dr. Welsing, a battalion of white women can control all of the black men. I mean, in other words, that's the power of white supremacy. See, if everybody close your eyes. Okay, now I'm going to say something. All you have to do is track what goes in your mind. The most powerful, the most beautiful woman you've ever seen. The most handsome man you've ever seen. Now, what image went in front of your eyes? No black person, please don't tell me that. Wait a minute. See, in other words, we are either in a system where we are being programmed. See, I could ask the same question, close your eyes, and what image goes in front of your eyes? That's God. It's not a crystal black person. So this is just the programming, and so there's been programming. Black men have been lynched and castrated for thinking they wanted to think about considering thinking about it. And so that's like liberation, but it's at the same time being overwhelmed by white supremacy. You see, and so that's why, just like I mentioned, the gentleman that I know, knew a long time ago, said a white woman goes with a Harvard degree. That's what the rap people sing about. You want a mutt. You don't want somebody that looks black. You see, so you've got to, you know, move around and ask the artists. And just think about, look, we're being programmed by racism and white supremacy. Let's try to change that program. Okay. Oh, down they can't. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yes.
Giving honor to the ancestors and thanking you so much.
Thank you.
I I just have a question about you were speaking about a lot about our self-hate as people, and as you as a doctor working with the youth. I have 5 children. I have 4 sons and a daughter, and I noticed my younger sons have brought home friends, African American male friends who are foster children and wanting me to take them in. Have you noticed in your career as a psychiatrist the devaluing of our youth and foster care and it becoming a growing problem? And can you speak on that? And I just want to say the sister that stood up before me, I just think that's awesome, because you don't see that a lot where we adopt our own children. And
see, in other words, when I'm playing with sex and producing children that we are not ready to take care of. See, in other words, when the house is flooded, you don't get a mop. You got to get to the source of where the water is coming from. So people, our children are up. I've seen albums of pictures. Do you want this child? Look at all these little children. Do you want this one? Do you want this one? Let's see, do you want this one? See, now what we have to understand is that we were breeding during slavery. But slavery was a phase of white supremacy, and people are breeding without understanding and without thinking about it. You see, so people can make little children, and then I'm tired, or this ain't mine. I don't want him. This one is too dark. I mean, all of those different things that, see, I say that it starts before the sperm meets the egg. What am I doing? And nobody has to feel bad. We're just beginning to talk about racism, white supremacy, and the codification of our behavior so that we win from our side of the chessboard. See, you know, the people who classify themselves as white, they got a system for their own survival. That doesn't include our maximal development. Now the question is, how can we teach that and help our young people understand? Ever so gently. See, when you play with sex, the joke is going to be on the baby. You see what I'm saying? But black people can't have mental health unless they understand racism. Thank you. In other words, those who can push, those who are willing to push, push.
Welsing and Roy, I want to thank you all for your years of service and commitment to raising black consciousness. Can you shed some light on this thought? If we create our own realities with our own conscious and sometimes, to some degree, our unconscious thoughts, do you think that if we focus on fear, that we create more reality for fear for ourselves?
If we focus on fear, will we create more fear? That's like, let me see. If a team focuses on the fact that they lost the game, if they focus on the fact that they lost the game, is that going to help them win? I mean, in other words, if you focus on, you know, losing, if you lost, and if you focus on losing, you can focus on losing so that what do we need to do to win? You see what I'm saying? But it's like a lot of people have said, if you talk about white supremacy, then you make white supremacy a reality. That's just not the reality. White supremacy is a reality. You see, racism is a reality. If that problem is ever going to be solved, it will be because people look at it. See, Sigmund Freud, for example. Freud was a Semite of the Jewish religion. They were being persecuted, a long history of persecution in Europe. Sigmund Freud chose to focus on sex repression and what the id and the ego and the superego are doing. You see, as opposed to focus on. Now these people say we're not white. And that's why they have been killing us, burning our establishments, and harming us for hundreds of years. Now we should be focusing on that. But if you want to be accepted, you won't focus on that. You'll just be killed.
Thank you. I want to thank you, Dr. Welsing and Dr. LaRue, for a fantastic opportunity to be here to hear you. Dr. Manalana Karanga extends his greetings and blessings, and he wanted me to send that to you.
Okay, fine. Okay.
The word black. In the 60s, black was being used. Our organization, as I always say, is black. But I know many other organizations now are shifting away from that. Could you give me a reason why and how would that be a detriment to the black community, omitting that and running away from that?
See, we are in a system of racism, white supremacy. People classify themselves as white. Do not play games about what they call themselves. They don't call themselves Euro-American. They don't even call themselves Caucasian. They call themselves white. That 5-letter word keeps them oriented as to what their issue is. White means tiny minority on the planet, genetic recessive, can experience genetic annihilation unless the black and the shades of black people are under control. So they're never confused. While we run around, no, well, what can we call ourselves so we don't have to face the problem? What name can we give? I'm mixed. Oh, I'm not black, I'm mixed. See, we're running like little children. Little children hear a big boom and they run because they're afraid. You see what I'm saying? And just we run away from reality because we're fearful as little children. So we got to try to get over it.
Thank you.
Being afraid.
Hello, Dr. Welsing. Thank you for coming here. I'll make this very quick. I understand your theory on genetic annihilation, but if they really felt this way, why not kill us off and get it over with? Along with that, why are white men marrying Asian women in record numbers if genetic annihilation is possible?
Why, in other words, if you have the stance of superiority, one of the things that you would want to do so you keep feeling superior is looking at how inferiorized the black people are. So you got to have a certain number of them around to make you know you're superior and that they are, you know, that they're superior and that we're inferior. So every day you can just wake up and look around at the black people. Today. Nothing to worry about. You see now the white men who are with Asian women, they're looking around. See now China's on the move. We want to keep up with inside information. So we are married Asian women. They bow to us because they think that white is superior. I had patients some time ago, white male, who married a Japanese, and he said that he knew he was a racist, but he tried to go to white psychiatrists and they would say, there's no such thing as racism. But he said he knew what he was doing inside of his family. and the demeaning and degrading things that he would do with these Japanese females that were his wife and his children. So the Japanese ladies, so he said that he had an ongoing fantasy. And that fantasy was that he would ultimately be in some rural area of Mississippi, and the black people would have made him king. The Japanese woman said, after they lost the war, the Japanese women were ashamed of Japanese men. Anyone that could get a white man was feeling better.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon or good evening, Dr. Welsing. Thank you very much, Dr. DeGregory, for your presence here and uplifting us. I wanted to speak to the offensive part of what we need to do, because we're all on different levels of our journey and understanding what has happened in our Holocaust. And so when I look closely, because I've been on this journey since I recognized something was wrong when I was in my 20s, a long time ago. So I've arrived at now, in playing the offensive part of it, I've realized through a gentleman by the name of Chancellor Williams, The Destruction of Black Civilization. I just happened on another book he wrote called The Rebirth of African Civilization. I wondered if you knew about that book, because I think if we zeroed in on it, we will, just our fact that we're looking in a different direction and rising up, doing what we need to do collectively, even if we have to lock arms across the sea with those that have strengths that we don't have. Can we not just lock them out, shun them? Because I think we have a problem with saying that we have to go to the same oppressor to ask them to educate us and our children. And why would I want them to anyway?
Well, again, don't you think, see, I think it's all tied up with how do we really understand racism, white supremacy? You see, let's say if we, in this part of the world, were to say, well, let's link up with Africa. What's happening on the continent of Africa? What's happening on the continent is white supremacy has made this construct they call ISIS. That goes in, they're supposed to be some enemy force with a black mask on their face. You see, raising havoc, killing people in barbaric acts. You see, we are told that this is some unknown, powerful group. Interesting, we named it ISIS. You see, Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda, tearing up Africa. You see, I say gentrification is going on in Africa. Moving the black people up into Europe, where there are no resources. And the people who classify themselves as white will come down into Africa. You see, but all over, wherever it is we are, we're not understanding. You see, we think that we can be blended into and accepted by. And all of it is led, and I'm not against anybody's religion as such. I'm baptized underwater Baptist. You see, so that as long as we have this concept that God is white, you see, and from whom all blessings flow, more should be whiter than snow. Oh, precious is the flow. You see, love, and drugs, to traffic and guns to kill one another. You see, so we don't have a critical mass of black people anywhere on the planet that have escaped that programming. And I say this is for, you know, my effort is one person. Let me try to talk about it as much as I can, but we have to build a critical mass of black people who respect themselves as black. We're not there, we're not any place near there, and that's okay. But it's like whosoever will work on, you know, I gotta build my self-respect, and along with that, my courage. You see, but this is the deficiency all over the planet. So again, if everybody, they say underground, overground. You see, whosoever teach and try to help. You don't have to belong to an organization, but don't fight with anybody. Don't get mad at another black person because they don't want to talk about racism. Just get on your skateboard and move to the next one. So everybody work as they can. And again, the Spider-Man unite.
I hear you.
I was just saying my greetings. You have been on the front lines for many, many years, and I'm a wellness worker in the community. How do you deal with the feelings of despair? Do you feel despair when you see our collective destruction?
No, I don't really feel despair. I mean, I just feel I'm doing my assignment.
You're feeling as well?
See, because my mother asked me one time, my mother's deceased, retired Chicago public school teacher. My mother said, oh, where are you going, Francis? And I said, I'm going somewhere. Well, what are you going to talk about? Ma, you can only talk about one thing. Well, can you talk about something else? I said, no, Mom, that's my assignment. So I just, you know, I mean, you know, everybody has to deal with stuff, but I don't feel no wings tight.
Thank you again for coming out. Again, a very deep inspiration for me, so thank you for being here. I have a real quick question. Just in terms of white supremacy, it's hard for me to separate white supremacy from Christianity. Because they brought Christianity everywhere they went, and they colonized the world. And when I look at my black people all around the world, I look at the Haitians. They weren't worshiping no white Jesus when they kicked them white folks out. And neither was the Jamaicans, the Morenos came in and did what they did. They weren't, you know, worshiping no white Jesus. Neither were they in Brazil. So what we gonna do with this white Jesus?
In other words, see, that's up to everybody to work through. As Neil Fuller said, racism, white supremacy is carried out in all areas of people activity. Economics, education, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and war. In all of those areas of activity, racism, white supremacy is being pushed. It's like in entertainment. They push Scandal, and all the black ladies who like to look at Scandal. You see, liking the whole idea that they can be some slave master's hope. See, the white people are looking at that. See, again, we don't know because we're not enough in touch with ourselves. And so we don't know when people are laughing with us or laughing at us. And so we're thinking empire, they're thinking Planet of the Apes. See, because we just don't get it. We don't get it. You see, but those who are aware, it's just, you know, like becoming aware, and it's not an attack on people who don't understand. You see, but one person understanding, if they can share that understanding, like the African proverb, each one teach one. See, there's an African proverb that says, when the fool learns the game, the players have dispersed. That's all over. So we have to try to not be a fool, but again, whosoever will, let them come. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. With respect to one question, I have one for Dr. For you.
One question. Come on.
All right. Well, maybe I'll okay. Okay. My biggest question is, there is a lack, from my view, and from studying everything I've studied, there is a lack of integrity in the teaching space in our community. And with respect to our village and our original pecking order, there's a spiritual pecking order, there's a physical pecking order, there's a pecking order. That pecking order is not in place in our community. And so it's very difficult for me at 47 with people who are 20 to 25 years older than me that are behaving like 25-year-olds. And then we're kind of stuck in this place where if we step to them and say something, we're being disrespectful. But at the same time, that lack of discourse, that lack of order there, is creating a turmoil in the kids that are coming behind us. How do I, because it is something that I see, and I have been kicked out of many of our communities because I am going to speak to it. I'm going to speak to it because I was violated that way.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you talking about black-on-black interaction?
Yeah, like you have people that are in powerful positions that are behaving immaturely. They are suffering from all the PTSS. They're doing all those things, and people like us that are coming behind them that see you're in a position. You're my elder. You can't do that if they're watching. How do we approach that without being disrespectful or stepping over the pecking order that they are not keeping in place with the lack of integrity in the teaching space?
Well, let me ask you this. Who is responsible for their behavior?
They are. Well, wait.
Racism, white supremacy is responsible for black people's behavior towards each other. Racism, white supremacy wants it exactly the way that it is. And so if you don't like it, you have to see the connection between what some black people might be doing in certain situations and racism, white supremacy, because it's set up for black people to focus on each other as the enemy, and they don't have the courage to talk about white supremacy. So that the war, the internal war, will always go on. That's what's going on all over Africa. You see, because facing the real issue, even if you have to say, I'm afraid to deal with that, but I can kick these black people over here. See, it's like in a relationship, so-called marital relationship. Could be a black man that's being beat up on his job. And so then he comes home and, you know, bitch, I'm a man. Okay, the people are both victims of the system of racism. See, if we focus on white supremacy, it will get so quiet in the community that you would think it was a cathedral. Do you see what I'm saying? See, in other words, it's always easy if you feel weak to kick somebody that's weak. But the most difficult thing is to be able to look, oh, I see how racism and white supremacy is running this whole thing. Now, I wonder if I'll ever get the courage to deal with that. If not, let me sit down and be quiet. You see what I'm saying? In other words, we can always fight with each other. And that's why the plantation is set up like that. So that everybody, you know, think about the plantation Jefferson had 300 slaves. And so that's where miscegenation comes in, because you start making different colors. And then you pit the colors against each other. And Francis, if you tell on Betty, I'll give you a little extra fat back when I hand out the ratios. Have you heard anything else? You see, that's the way a small number of people control a larger number of people by getting the line. I want to look at some little secret organization of white people. As opposed to the people who classify themselves as white. Everybody has a role to play. It's not just the people that have money. It's everybody who carries that card saying I'm white. You see, and they can either sign up and be a John Brown, or they can work with the system of racism and white supremacy.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Don't move me, do not move me. I know it's 5:15. Yes. Okay, because it is because of 5:30, we got some close remarks. Dr. Welsing will be around.
We can't hear.
Same format.
Microphone. Can't hear.
Oh, okay. It's 5:15 and we're scheduled to close at 5:30. But Dr. Welsing will stay around and answer some more questions. We can use the same format so you can stay in line. I just need to do some closing remarks and also recognize some people who worked very hard to make this day happen. So let's officially close, because some people may really have to leave, but you can hang around if you want, and we may start like picking up around you, okay? Ashe, okay? Because we've had a long day. So just hold on tight for a few minutes and we do some official closing remarks, okay? And then do some